Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. Hope everybody is having an unbelievable week. It's hard to believe, man. We're already at Wednesday. Time is moving fast. We're closing out this year at an unbelievably rapid pace. And my hopes for you, my desire for you, is that you are closing this year out strong with intent, being deliberate, with a purpose in mind, and that you are entering into 2022 with momentum, with force, with anticipation, and a clear idea of the destination that you intend on reaching throughout the year. It is so important that you move into transitional phases with momentum. You don't want to go into a transitional phase in life, whether it's a mental one, whether it's a spiritual one, uh, or simply a perceived one. If you are moving into one phase into another, where you're ending something and starting something different, it is important that you move into that phase with momentum, not at a standstill, not at I'll figure it out when it gets started, but I'm already moving into it, knowing what I'm doing and how I'm going to get it done. Look, I'm not going to be long this morning, but I do want to talk to you. I want to give you 10 important and powerful tips that will move you towards your vision, towards your destiny, towards your goals, towards success. These are things that I have personally applied to my life over and over again. It is also, there are also principles and ideas that I have studied and observed among some of the most successful people in the world. There is a saying that success leaves clues, and also success has patterns. But success leaves clues means that if you watch people who are successful, they will, in their behaviors and in their conversations, tell you how they became successful, what contributes to their success. I'm going to give you 10. And I think they are powerful. I think that if you learn how to apply them, they're going to be great and forceful in helping you achieve your goals. You're going to find out that in one way or another, these 10 principles or these 10 tips that I give you are going to be, many of them going to be heavily focused on the need to overcome procrastination. But the first one is um, you have to develop good habits. We are, as simple as I could put it, we are what we do consistently. In other words, we are what we do habitually. If you want to be successful, you have to develop habits that contribute to success. Habits that could be reading more, waking up earlier, starting your day with gratitude. I mean, things that you literally practice until they become a part of your natural behavior, your natural thought processes, your natural belief systems. You have to develop habits that contribute to your success. We are what we do habitually. So the first one is real simple. You can't keep the same habits expecting different results. You're going to have to develop habits that literally contribute to the things you want to accomplish. And again, success leaves clues. Number two, you have to put in the work. We live in a world where 90% of the people are literally sitting around and hoping for something different while doing nothing. It doesn't work that way. Life does not deliver to you what you want, what you wish for, or even what you pray for. Life delivers to you what you prepare yourself for. And how do you prepare yourself? You grow into it. You determine what it is you want. It's real simple. When I look at something I want, I observe two things initially. Okay, who in the world or in my periphery or within reach, who has done it already? Then I observe what they have that I don't, what they do that I don't, how they behave in a way that I don't, how they think in a way that I don't, how they talk in a way that I don't. What are the behaviors that they possess that I don't? And what are some of the things that I do that they don't? And then I ask myself, where am I at now in comparison or in relation to where they are? What will it take for me to get there? Because in order to have what they have, I have to become a person capable of producing it. So it's not about wishing for it. It's not about hoping for it. It's about understanding what it takes to have it and then developing into the person capable of creating it. It's real simple. It's not easy. You'll hear simple a lot with me because there's some things you just simply have to do it. Now, is it easy? No, it's rarely easy because it comes with such reward. You're not going to find things in life that produce the reward that you're expecting. If you're looking for something exceptional in life, extraordinary in life, phenomenal in life, if you're looking to achieve excellence, it won't come easy because it requires work, it requires commitment, it requires sacrifice, it requires a level of persistence that most people simply will not display and execute. Most people will try it for a minute. If it doesn't work, they quit on it. You can't do that. You have to be buckled in and prepared and ready to go. Okay. Embodied cognition. Here's tip number 3, embodied cognition. What is that? That is literally understanding how your body sets your mood. Your brain responds to your posture. Your brain responds to your movement. There's a saying that as the body goes, the brain grooves. As the body goes, the brain grooves. And the brain and the mind grooves. What does that mean? That literally you have the ability to change your mood by your body posture, by your body movement. Get moving in a positive way. Keep your shoulders square, keep your chin up, keep a smile on your face, but move with a level of energy that translates to your body so that your body uh, interprets it. Number one is, even though I don't think the people understood the psychology behind it or the neurology behind it, but it's been said for centuries and generations. Somebody is down and feeling low. What do they tell them? Keep your head up. What actually, if you find out, is the body recognizes different postures for different realities. You know, that's why when you see someone suffering from sadness or depression, they're normally slumped over, the head is hanging low, and you can see in their body posture that they are not filling up to the task for the day for whatever reason. And the brain understands that, and the brain responds, and the brain literally creates a chemical imbalance that contributes to the sadness and the depression. But what you can do is you can square your shoulders, you can hold your head up high. And when you hold your head up, you've been told that so many times when you're having a bad day, keep your head up. But what you don't realize is if you hold your head up, it is extremely difficult to feel down. Holding your head up and squaring your shoulders immediately sends a neurological signal to the brain that you've got this. It's a confident posture. And so when you do that, you do it. So when you start to move and you're moving with a confidence and a posture, you literally translate to your brain that you've got this, no matter where you're at. There are times that I've taken that posture and I didn't have the answer yet, because my confidence doesn't come in the fact that I know the answer. The confidence comes in that the answer's on the way, that literally I bask in the presence of divinity and in divine and in the mind of God that knows all answers. And I'm literally surrounded by the mind of God. It's also in me. And so that if I calm down and I stand in a level of gratitude, stand in a level of confidence, the answer will come. Everything has a solution. Everything has an answer. There's never a reason to become frenetic and unglued. There's never a reason to venture off into the spectrum of worry, fear, anxiety, because the answer is coming. It may not come at the time frame you want it. It may not come when you want it, but it's going to come in a time that's going to produce the greatest results. And you have to learn how to be patient. You have to learn how to be forceful, and you have to learn how to stand your ground. But moving and being active in your body posture is so powerful. Keep your head up. Man, you cannot sit up and be sad with a smile on your face. Try it. You're either going to stop smiling so that you can match what you're feeling at the moment, or what you're feeling is going to start to change. It's just simply the power. It's a neurological process that takes place. The brain is going to respond to your posture. You literally can't change sometimes what you're going through. You can't change sometimes what you're thinking, but what you can do is always willfully change your posture. And your posture will change your mindset, ultimately changing your mood, putting you in a better position to be able to do what you need to do to get out of the situation. Some people sink into the situation because they ride the emotion. You have the ability through embodied cognition to change that. What's next? What I've learned and what I teach my clients is that one of the most difficult things to do in the process of doing something extraordinary, in the process of moving towards what you declare or determine to be success for you, is getting started. Believe it or not, getting started. Literally, what people tend to do is sit there and contemplate and think and wish and hope and imagine. And all those things have a purpose, because if you can conceive it in your mind, it's possible. If you can conceive it in your mind, that's God's evidence to you that it is possible. I ask my clients all the time, when they're talking about doing something, and I can see a little trepidation, I can see a little pause, because they're shooting for something they've never done before. So there's a level of uncertainty. That's normal. But I'll ask them, say, you believe in God? It doesn't matter how they believe in God, but if you believe in a higher power that is benevolent, and I ask, and you believe in God, you believe God is good. And what I'm getting at is this: if God is good, God doesn't want anything bad for you. Doesn't mean that things won't happen. It means that God's desire and will is for the best for you. So if God is the designer and the creator, and God designed you to imagine and to think, would a good God design you with the ability to imagine something that you could never have? Because see, in imagining something that you desire but could never have, that's torture. To be able to see it in your mind and know I'll never have it, or it's impossible for me to have, that's torture. So the very idea that I can conceive it in my mind tells me that it's possible, because a good God wouldn't give me the capacity to think of something that I could never have. So what I have to understand is it may be a way away. It may be hard work. It may take some long, hard hours. It may take some stumbling and some falling. It may take some setbacks and some blows, some scratches and some scuffs. But the truth of it is, if I set my mind to it and I'm committed to it and I refuse to relent from it, it shall come to pass. It shall be. It cannot be denied. It cannot be withheld. And that's something that you have to set your mind. You have to get started. And the next step is take the first step. How do you get started? Take the first step. So many people overthink everything. They overthink everything. Well, what about this? What about that? Well, just take the first step. Sometimes it's a blind step, but you got to take the first step. So much happens in taking the first step. First thing you do when you take the first step, you begin a movement process that is the beginning and the origin of momentum. You can't build momentum standing still. So you take the first step. Sometimes you're going to take the first step in the wrong direction. It doesn't even matter. Why? Because you've created movement. Now you're moving, and you're going to learn to adjust while moving. You don't have to stop to make the adjustments. You need to be moving. You need to get momentum going. You need to feel the flow of what it feels like to be in the game. See, when you're sitting on the outside, you're talking about it, you're looking at it, you're thinking about it, but you're not experiencing it. You're not moving. You're not applying anything. You're not gaining any ground. You're just thinking. You're going to have to take what you're thinking about and apply action to it. You've got to just simply get started. Another thing that is the same way. You've got to break free of that notion and that pull to procrastinate. Another thing is 50%. I estimate about 50%. Two things: 80% of success is psychology, 20% is planning and strategy. How you think about life is going to have a massive impact on how well you do in life. You can sit up and have the best plan in the world, but if you have poor thinking, you're not going to succeed in life. You can have a iffy plan, but great thinking and a positive attitude and an approach to life that says, I'm going to get it figured out. And eventually your plan will improve and you will move forward and you will gain ground and you will win. But psychology is so important. But I also tell you, 50% of success is simply showing up. Do you realize that a large portion of people who fail to succeed at life at anything significant never ever show up. They hang out in the background. They stay on the sidelines. They critique everything else. They find everything wrong with everything else, but they never take action. They never get involved in the game. They never sit up and determine within themselves that I'm actually going to show up to my own life. I'm going to show up to my own dreams. I'm going to show up to my own desires. I'm going to show up and I'm going to what? Put in work. Yeah, you got to show up, but you can't put in work until you show up. You got to show up. Next one. There is no such thing as perfect timing, a perfect situation, or a perfect plan. Get that out of your head. Overthinkers literally stall out right here. Why? Because they're looking for the perfect entry point. They're looking for the perfect timing. They're trying to make the perfect choices. They want everything to be ideal in situation. There's no such thing as perfect timing. The perfect timing is the moment that you decide you want to do something. That timing is the perfect timing is right there. When you decide that there's something you want to do, move on it. I mean, the first thing you do, put it on your calendar, put a date on it, put your first step on it. Take that first step. And at that point, you're in the game. Now you start to move, you start to make adjustments, you start to learn. Because what I'll tell you is, you will always be able to learn. You will always be able to learn more. You're never going to have it all. You're never going to have all the knowledge you need to you're never going to have all the knowledge necessary to know everything you need to know about anything. There's always going to be something to learn. So you're never going to have all the information. You're never going to have the highest level of expertise. There'll be always some way you can grow and strengthen your expertise in something. So you can't wait on that. You got to get ready and say, you know what, I'm moving forward. There's no perfect timing. Like George Bernard Shaw said, the people who get on in this world, the people who wake up in the morning, they go out and they create the opportunities they need. If the opportunities don't exist, they create them. It's that simple. You're going to get up, you're going to go out, you're going to apply yourself. You're going to sit up and say, well, I know I need to read more on this, but that's what I'm doing this week is I'm going to read a book on this. And then I'm going to take the steps in the book and I'm going to apply them in increments, and you set those increments up of what you're going to apply. I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do this tomorrow. That can't be a day that you're not doing something that's moving you towards your vision, that's moving you towards your dream. That has to be every day you're waking up and you're doing something. Some days you're going to look at it and you're going to see this unbelievable fulfillment because you can see how you've grown or how you've moved, process. Other days you want, but I guarantee you that the work you've put in is a seed planted, and at the right moment, it's going to come to harvest. You got to understand everything doesn't move at the same pace, and depending on the size of the seed is going to determine how long it has to germinate and the gestation period. Everything doesn't blossom immediately. Some things take longer times to come to fruition, and so you've got to be willing to understand that there's no such thing as perfect timing. You got to get out there and you got to make it happen. Don't wait on the perfect timing. It doesn't exist, and you'll sit there stalled out indefinitely, waiting on this ideal situation and time that is never going to present itself. Something that the next step is something that's sort of correlated to what I just shared with you. That what we are is, if you watch us, we're trained to think. We are conditioned to think. We do a lot of thinking. We think about starting our own business. We think about improving our marriage. We think about changing our financial situation. We think about doing a bunch of different things. We think about creating a situation where we are financially independent, financially free. But what do? We think about it. We've been trained to think about it. The problem is that you don't move toward it until you start to take action. And that's where we become uncomfortable, because the thinking about it part we've got down. We can think about it. We can read the books on it. We can look at it. We watch videos on YouTube. You're watching this now and you're thinking, man, yeah, I'm doing this. And you'll sit up and you go, thanks, man. This was a blessing. But the thing is, at some point, you got to take what's being given to you and you got to take action. You're going to have to invest in yourself, in time, in money, in energy, in sweat, in blood and tears. It's a part of the process. You're not going to get past it. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people want to buy into that. Man, it was so easy for me. It was magic. I'm going to tell you, I've done some things that I'm immensely proud of, that I can look back and say, man, I did that. but it didn't come easy. It came from me just being consistent. It came from me not being willing to relent and give up. It came from me saying, I will not quit. No surrender, no retreat. I'm not turning around. I'm not giving up. I'm not letting go. I'm pushing through this until I have that. It's that simple. Now, is it easy? Absolutely not. But you got to be willing to move from the process of thinking to the process of application. And that's a problem that we have. We don't know how to transition from thinking to application. You have got to move from thinking to application, and it has to happen. And this is a good time to do it because we're moving in a transition phase out of one year into a new year. For some people, it's a perceptive. Some people, it's spiritual. Some people, it is, solar. But whatever it is, it's a transition phase because you're moving out of one thing into the next. There's something ending and something beginning. It's a transition phase. How you move out of one phase into the other phase is going to have a massive impact on how well you do in the next phase. Literally, how you're moving in the next week or so is going to have a major impact on the entire year next year. People don't get that. If you go strong out of one year into the next, that momentum can literally carry you for the whole year. If you go in dead, if you go in uncertain, if you go in thinking, man, I'm just going to get in there and then I'll figure it out, you normally have a lot of turbulence, a lot of disappointment, a lot of frustration. And you normally around March or April settle in and say, man, this is just another year in my life. And you go back to doing what you've always done. And then you start thinking about it again toward the end of the year. Next year is going to be my year. No, not if you don't change how you go off into next year. You've got to change that. You really have to change that. And then you move on into the next one. Oh, man. This one's going to really kind of get under you. Some of y'all are not going to like this one. This is number 9. And I'm going to read it verbatim. Until you can apply action to your dream for at least 3 or 4 weeks straight, you have not earned the right to talk about your dreams. Let me say that again. Until you have invested and taken action that moves you towards your dream for at least 3 or 4 weeks straight, you have not earned the right to talk about your dreams. What am I saying? That means that if you're talking about your dreams and there's no corresponding action, you're just talking. You're a talker. You have nothing to show for it. Let people get an idea of what you're dreaming about how you're moving. Let people get an idea of where you're headed by watching you move, watching your direction, watching your intensity, watching your focus, seeing how you're moving. That should be your speech. Your speech about your dream should be first your actions. And then you bring clarity to it for the people that matter by saying, man, this is what I'm doing. But they should be able to look at what you're doing and it should correlate with what you're saying. If what you're doing isn't correlating with what you're saying, you're just talking. You got to get out of that talk phase. You're going to start putting some action to it. At least 3 or 4 weeks straight of every day waking up and doing something that advances your vision. You have to. Or you're just going to constantly be that person talking. You're going to have an idea, but that thing, you have to be there. It's that simple. What's up, Mitchell Coleman? It's about doing it consistently. There's nothing easy about success. There's nothing easy about living life at the next level. There's nothing easy about walking in purpose. If it was, everybody out there will be on their A game. The thing is, being on your A game requires a effort. It requires a commitment. It requires a consistency. It requires you to sit up and say, I don't care what's going on around me, I'm going to do it. The problem with a lot of people is that when I put my a effort in, I want to see instantaneous, immediate results. And when I don't, I start to relent. I start to release. I start to step back. And what happens is I start to see ultimately the results of what is consistently happening in my life. I told you at the beginning of this thing, one of the first things out, we are what we do habitually. So if you look at your habits, what do your habits say in correspondence to what you say you want? What time are you waking up? What are you reading every day? What are you listening to in music? What is your conversation like? What is your self-talk like? How do you refer to yourself? How do you refer to things? What are you consistently doing? Because in those consistent behaviors and those habits are going to be the representation of the life you're going to live. What are you doing consistently? You've got to change those habits. It's the development of habits that are directly conducive to success. It's that simple. And finally, bonus number 10. Don't touch that phone. First thing in the morning, don't let that phone be the first thing you grab, because whatever's on that phone is going to set your state. And when you grab that phone, you surrender your personal sovereignty. What do I mean by that? Your personal sovereignty is the ability to establish and to set and to operate within your will. And you relinquish that when you pick up that phone. Why? Because now your mental state is going to be dictated by whatever's on that phone. Maybe you're picking up something's great on it, so your day starts out great, but you didn't control what was on it. So you didn't have sovereignty over it. You were basically subjected to it. So the thing is, with me, it's the first hour. I turn the alarm off, see what time it is, and then it's prayer, meditation, and setting my state. It's about getting my head together, getting my head right. I normally spend the first 15 minutes in prayer meditation before I get out of the bed, because once you hit the floor, when your feet hit the floor, it grounds and it literally activates the left side of your brain and your prefrontal cortex. What does that do? That starts to register all the things that are going on. You start to think, you start to reason, you start to come up, and you start to think about all the things that are on the table. And if you do that too quickly, you get caught up in all of the pressures of life and you start to get anxious. So what I do is I lay there. I set my state of gratitude while laying in the bed next to my wife. And I establish that gratitude, first and foremost, being grateful and thankful that I'm alive, being grateful and thankful that I have this beautiful woman in my life, and that I have the responsibility of covering her, which is an honor that I hold dear. Then I have the honor and responsibility of covering my children. Definitely a challenge at times, but again, something that I hold dear. And so before I get out of bed, I'm already charged up, understanding I've got everything I need to be everything that I'm required to be and everything I desire to be. I'm going to have to wake up and I'm going to have to put in the work. I'm going to have to be persistent. I'm going to have to be steadfast. But the beauty of it is I have what it takes. Again, stop looking for ease and start looking for the win. That's a problem. Everybody look, well, it didn't show up yet, so I got to try something else. Some of y'all have been trying something else for the last 10 years, the last 15 years. Find your space in this world, plant your flag there, refuse to move, but stop picking up that phone before you set your state. Some people, you're not going to be able to do hours. Do 30 minutes. And if you can't do 30 minutes, at least do 15. But in that 15, from the time you wake up to the time you touch that phone, be in a strong mental state of establishing gratitude and expectancy and confidence in who you are and what you're capable of. That's what you have to be willing to do. So with that being said, I'm going to get off. Got a client coming up in a few minutes. So I need to get ready for that. But I just wanted to drop that on you. 10 unbelievable tips. Go back, read them. If you go in the description box, you'll see the 10 listed out in number one by one, and you'll see it's the points that I've covered. Look, for those of you who are really looking to do something exceptional moving into 2022, I invite you to pick up my Crushing Limiting Beliefs course. The link is in the box. It's self-explanatory. The only limits you have on your life are the ones you accept in your mind. The problem is the limiting beliefs that have been passed down to you through generations, the limiting beliefs that have been passed on to you through experience have locked you in a place of limited movement, limited capacity, limited expectation. And let me tell you something, God only meets you at the level of your expectations. I have been saying that for years. God, life, the universe, however you want to put it, will only meet you at the level of your expectations. Whatever you expect from life is what you get. Whatever you expect from life dictates your your behavior and your movements. And your behavior and your movements are going to produce your results. So you end up getting what you expect. If you start expecting more, you'll start doing more. You'll start putting yourself in a position. If you raise your standards, if you raise your level of belief and anticipation about what's possible, you change the complete trajectory of your life. But you got to get rid of those old limiting beliefs. This course I created literally 5 years ago for an institution that requested that I created. I sold the licensing rights to it for 5 years, so they had absolute control over 5 years. That license expired a few months ago, so I received the rights back. I went in, doctored it up a little bit, made it more modern and up to date, and now I am offering it at a highly reduced rate compared to what they were offering it. 70% cheaper actually than what they were offering it, but I'm offering it to people. And now is the time, if you really and truly want to change your trajectory, if you want to go into 2022 anticipating something greater so that you have the momentum, this is the chance and the opportunity to do it. The link is right there in the box. I'm about to get off here. I got a client that I need to prepare for, but don't sit up and go into 2022 standing still, no matter what you do. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable rest of the day.